There are many kinds of death. Some are better than others.
Although 28 years later it offers this clean entry point for new audiences, what's your personal connection to the original film?
You know, my connection is only that I was about 12 when it came out, and but it made a huge impact on me. The visual of Cillian Murphy walking through a deserted London made such an impact.
I knew after I watched it that I wanted to be part of this franchise, you know? It is fantastic. Mr. Murphy was great in that.
It's funny because I think I was around 8 when the original came out, so I definitely caught up on it a little later on, but I remember being just really struck by how original it felt. The cinematography felt very kind of kinetic and dynamic, and I was really struck by how, a film that was bracketed as a horror genre could actually feel very profound and move me in a very deep way. So it was amazing to hear that Danny and Alex were coming back together, and these are the kind of filmmakers you would hope to be working with.
I have a confession to make that I had not seen either of the early films.
Still to this day?
No, I've seen them now.
Can you imagine?
No, it's just that when I got the approach from Danny plus the screenplay, which I thought was great, but I thought I better watch these films, which was great because they were a surprise. And then the world of the screenplay I had just read, I thought it was fantastic. And I'm quite glad it happened like that, because it was fresh. I came into it with a different energy.
Every skull is a set of thoughts. This is a monument to them.
So back in 2002, I remember you both clarifying that 28 Days Later was not a zombie film, but then it helped kickstart a new wave of zombie fiction. So are you staying true to your guns? Is 28 Years Later still not a zombie film, it's an infected film?
I never said that.
Yeah.
We're a bit more relaxed about it now. I used to say it a lot, but we're a bit more relaxed about it. I was trying to kind of dig out our independence from the zombie history, really, and make a claim for a different kind of movie, a different kind of infected, as we call them, or zombie, if you like. But there is a difference.
I always felt that it's just a genre. I never objected particularly to the word zombie at all. But there is a difference, which is that zombies are reanimated dead people, and the infected are people who are sick. They're sick with a virus. And at a certain point, this film starts to look at that in a way. But yeah, I guess that's the difference.
Yeah, and you do have the word zombie in this film. I know you avoided it previously, but Eric, the soldier character, throws that out at one point. And I just wondered if he represented like the outsider, not understanding what's happening.
We were talking about this before, and neither of us remembered that happened. And I think it was an ad-libbed line is what Danny got to, but it's appropriate that it's an ad-libbed line because he is from another country, and if you imagine what people in other countries would say, they'd say Britain has been overrun by zombies, so it seems like the right terminology.
I also love that this is a clean entry point to the franchise. Did you hold back on connecting to the original films? I mean, we know Cillian Murphy is coming at some point, and he's not only on board to produce, right?
You're right, a clean slate, almost a clean slate. Obviously, the source of the infection is the same one, and the title tells you that there is a connection with it. But otherwise, it is a clean slate, and that was one of the exciting things for us, I think, doing it, is we felt we could try and make an original film as original as the first one was when it came out, with its own identity, its own DNA, and its own cast of characters. And you get a completely fresh cast of characters, which was one of the advantages of holding Cillian over and just using him as a producer on the first film.
Wait! Wait for me! Danny Boyle, he's such an arresting filmmaker. While you were shooting, was there a moment where you thought, like, this is a scene that's going to stick with me forever?
I think this entire experience is going to stay with me. I think Danny has an amazing way of just being able to... He brings the enthusiasm and the playfulness, but he allows for this space of creativity and experimental sort of way of pushing yourself. Also the way they shot this movie, right, on iPhones and built rigs with 20 different cameras on them. Every day felt new and refreshing and exciting.
Yeah.
And what's that experience like, though? You're coming onto this huge production, this long-awaited sequel, and then you see this rig with all these iPhones on it. What did you think? How did Danny prepare you for that?
You just come on and go, what on earth is that? And what what are we doing with that? And And Danny will go, well, do you know, I don't know. I mean, we're going to try and shoot this action sequence, and
We'll see.
and we'll see. It might work, it might not. And I think that was so reassuring when you have a director who's just willing to try new things, and it doesn't matter if it works in that moment, and it could work in another moment. So we did it throughout the film, and it just gives another sort of immersive experience, but very visceral and edgy and nothing you've seen before, right? So when you watch this movie, it really stands out against any other.
Yeah.
I have to say that I wasn't aware of the rig. I was aware of the very equally vital spirit of Anthony Dod Mantle. I loved how he was always thinking about different places to put a camera. I loved feeling him think it out visually. So yeah, there were. I don't remember a 28 iPhone rig. I just remember these cameras. They may have had iPhones on the back of them, but more was Anthony's looking for a place where he could put to different. You know, it was Anthony's eye informs this film as much as Danny's, I suspect.
When the original film came out, 20 odd years have passed, and how film has advanced and what they've been able to utilize creatively. And to kind of witness their excitement and playfulness on set as they were kind of discovering that and making these kind of bold choices. I had no idea what it was going to look like myself, so I was just as excited to watch it as a viewer last week when I had the opportunity. And even to see how The Infected has advanced, you know, the world is just so unbelievably rich. It's exciting to think of all the conversations that the two of them have had together over a kitchen table, coming up with all these ideas.
We had drones, we had cameras rigged to us, we had cameras rigged on The Infected. You know, there was so many inventive ways. Anthony Dod Mantle, our cinematographer, was able to capture a lot of stuff really up close because you know, you can operate these things obviously in certain ways that you can't other cameras. So it's
You found like the weirdest angles, but it worked. You know, it was just so creative and unique. Yeah, it definitely works. It's really great.
Because it was such an original film, you know, it represented the sea change in horror and digital filmmaking. Did you feel pressure to innovate in all areas? Storytelling, filmmaking, you know, the genre?
Not pressurized so much. The great thing about the period of time that had passed is that it sort of liberated us from that kind of pressure of following too closely or deliberately trying to avoid or anything. It felt quite relaxed in terms of the decision-making process about what we would depict. That was our time between the making of the first film and now. And in terms of the time that's passed in the story, the 28 years also gave us a rich ground to provide some new material. The evolution of the virus into the different forms of infected that you see is probably the best example of it, yeah.
And in between shooting, what's the vibe like with the infected actors on set? Do you all eat lunch together, or does Danny try to keep them separate?
It's just like the idea of the infected having their own, like, area to eat because they're infected.
Yeah.
It is one of those funny moments where it's terrifying when you're in it because you see a whole load of infected running towards you at full speed, and your instinct definitely cuts in to kind of go, okay, we gotta go, we gotta run.
Yeah.
But then there are times when you know, we're off camera and we're really just trying to like help them when they're kind of falling down the hill and stuff, and you know, they're stunt performers and everyone's
it's the job.
Everyone's there to do their best, you know. So the prosthetics on this was fantastic. So everything you really see there was no special effects. It was done right there and then, and didn't leave much for the imagination. You know, all we had to do was react. It was all kind of
It was like, I think it makes it more real, doesn't it?
Yeah. And those performers had like sitting in prosthetics for like good 6 hours through the night.
Credit to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that.
You two have collaborated so well over the years. Danny, is there a project from Alex's career that you wish you had directed? And vice versa for you, Alex?
Oh, Ex Machina. I couldn't believe it when I saw that film. I thought, I wish I'd directed that. Not that I would have improved it, But it was just a kind of perfect script, I thought.
I really liked Steve Jobs. I thought it was really interesting. It's got all sorts of things about it that interested me, but one of them was the way it takes this enormous character, this huge figure, and then takes this very oblique approach. And I found it fascinating. Interestingly, it was there were 2 films that me and my son used to watch together several times. One of them was that, and the other was Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, Steve Jobs in that.
Yeah. It's an amazing screenplay, The Jobs. Absolutely astonishing working with him, Sorkin. Amazing screenplay, yeah.